The Raiders rookies reported a training camp on Thursday, and now they're all under contract. That plus more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for July 18th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show continues to grow each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. Takes a lot of pride in his work. We definitely appreciate that. We shout him out. You can find him on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. As we normally do, we'll close out the show hearing from you. A lot of great feedback, a lot of different subjects we talked about throughout the course of the week. We'll try to finish out strong, get as many calls and texts in as we close out the show and close out the week. We'll do that in segment number 3. Segment number 2, we know what time of year it is. We know that there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz around the Silver and Black under head coach Pete Carroll and John Spytek, Ashton Jeanty, Geno Smith. We know what's going on, right? We've been trying to somewhat contain our excitement. We know it feels different, but this is something that we've talked about quite a bit. Feels different, feels different. It felt different last year. It feels different. Does it feel right? We'll talk about that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. And off top, I want to just go ahead and start with a correction to an error that I made on Thursday when I was talking about the Locked On Top 100 players list, and 2 players from the Raiders represented, Max Crosby at number 15 and Brock Bowers at number 38. I was talking about Brock Bowers and the phenomenal season that he had as a rookie. Came in at number 2 on the Locked On Top 100, 38 overall, but number 2 tight end. And then I started talking about the tight end that was behind him, Trey McBride from the Arizona Cardinals, who came in 3rd, 64th overall, but 3rd tight end. And I was saying, hey, and he's a rookie. He had a phenomenal year. He is not a rookie. I got to shout out to my guy, Andy Turner, who reached out to me really early on Thursday by way of Twitter and was like, he's been in the league 3 years. That's Trey McBride. And I'm thinking, you know what? You're right. He had a phenomenal season in 2024, put up big numbers in 2024. And, you look at Brock Bowers, 112 catches, and you look at McBride's 111, it just clicked in my head, there was a player that was chasing him down, and the stats were really close, and I remember they were both rookies. So I immediately just went to McBride, which no excuse for that, right? That's my bad, and that should not happen. So shame on me for that. I was actually thinking of a wide receiver from the Giants, Malik Neighbors, who was a rookie in 2024 and put up a phenomenal stat line and had a heck of a year as a rookie, 109 catches, 1,204 yards, and 7 touchdowns in 15 games. And so I remember throughout the course of the year, keep looking back. It's like, man, what's this guy's numbers looking like? Because Brock is still just a little bit ahead of him, and they're both rookies. But again, there's still no excuse for that. That shouldn't have happened, but I do appreciate Raider Nation that reached out and was like, hey, man, just want to let you know, McBride has actually been in the league since 2022, and he was a second-round pick out of Colorado State by the Arizona Cardinals. So, like I said, shout out to Raider Nation for hitting me up and making sure that I was up to date and up to speed on the mistake that I made, and have no problem coming to the table and saying, hey, you know what? That was my bad. Now, on to some good news, on to some positive news, right? The Raiders, their rookies reported to training camp on Thursday. We have been talking about Jack Bech, the second-round pick, and the fact that there at one point was 30 out of 32 second-round picks that were not signed. And then we found out on Wednesday night that the 49ers number 43 overall pick signed, and obviously he's in the second round, so we all thought that there was going to be a big domino effect. There was a ton of second-round picks that came to agreement with their teams on Thursday, and, Jack Bech of the Silver and Black was one of them. Matter of fact, Tashawn Reed from The Athletic tweeted out probably, I would say, around 5:30, almost 6 p.m. on Thursday night Pacific time. The Raiders have agreed to terms with wide receiver Jack Bech on a 4-year rookie contract. Per source, there had been an NFL-wide logjam on second-round picks getting their deals done until recently. Now Las Vegas has all 11 picks from their 2025 draft class locked in. Again, that was Tashawn Reed. He was the first one on the job with that one, and that's a great thing, right? We knew that the real hard date for him to be there and sign was the 22nd, but to know that he actually got his contract under contract and agreement with the team by the day that they're supposed to be there, 17th, and just a little bit later on in the evening, I'm good with that. That's a great sign. That alleviates one issue that the Raiders could be facing. And plus, it doesn't let him start off behind. He was there for OTAs. He was there for mandatory minicamp and, came to agreement with the team on the day that the rookies were supposed to report. Now, the Raiders have not made it official as of yet. I'm sure that they will sometime today, where they'll send out an email saying that we've come to agreement with second-round pick, wide receiver Jack Bech, and they'll give a little bit of a rundown. They'll make that official a little bit later on today, but we know that it's good to go, and now the Raiders have all their guys in camp ready to go. And obviously the veterans will report next week on the 22nd. That's the first opportunity we'll get to talk to head coach Pete Carroll and probably a couple other players. Possibly they'll make a couple players available. They might not make the players available until the 23rd, which is actually the first day of practice. Also, I wanted to shout out to John Spytek and the Raiders front office, head coach Pete Carroll, one more time. We talk about serious, unserious, and for entertainment purposes only. Man, I don't know if you saw the news. I don't know how you would have missed it, but the Pittsburgh Steelers came to agreement with TJ Watt on a contract extension. He had missed OTAs. He had missed mandatory minicamp. He was holding out because he wanted that deal. There was conversations of could he be traded, and I didn't think that they would do that, especially since they went all in and made a whole bunch of changes this offseason, very un-Steeler-like. Well, he's not going anywhere. They came to an agreement. Adam Schefter tweeted out ESPN sources. Steelers star TJ Watt has become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history for the second time in his illustrious career, reaching an agreement today on a 3-year, $123 million extension that includes $108 million fully guaranteed at signing. Think about that. Remember we had the fully guaranteed and contract conversation on Thursday in segment number 3? $108 million fully guaranteed at signing. Could you imagine working anywhere and signing your name on the deal, on the contract, on the dotted line to say that you're going to work there, and all of a sudden $108 million appeared in your bank account? Woo-wee! $41 million per year average is the highest of any non-quarterback in NFL history, and apparently the deal's been in the works for quite a while, according to Adam Schefter. So why am I bringing this up? Why am I giving credit to John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and the Raiders? Well, because there was a time when Mad Max Crosby, and it wasn't that long ago, it was March, he was the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Remember, he signed his contract deal early in the offseason. $35.5 million is what he's making a year. And at that point, I was like, man, that's a lot of money. Remember, it lasted 4 days. He was the highest paid non-quarterback in the league for 4 days. Now today you look at TJ Watt, $41 million per year. Jamar Chase, $40.25 million. Myles Garrett, $40 million. Danielle Hunter, $35.6. And then Max Crosby. He is now the 5th highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, right? I mean, how wild is that? That contract that Crosby signed in March, it's only July, now looks like a bargain. It now looks like a deal, and that's all credit to John Spytek and Pete Carroll for getting out in front, being early on the deal instead of dragging their toes, dragging their feet, taking their time like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys do, or the Cincinnati Bengals and their situation going on with Trey Hendrickson. Instead of dragging their feet, they just got it done, got it knocked out, and they're not even looking back. The thing about it is, I mean, what's wild is that, you know, the Bengals are still trying to get Trey Hendrickson in. And think about this. Say the Raiders went in the route of the Bengals and they just drugged their feet and Max Crosby still wasn't under deal. He could look and say, well, TJ Watt's at $41 million. He's 30 plus right now, like 30 plus as age. Max Crosby's only 28. So Max Crosby technically could say, well, I'm younger, right? So I should make at least that $41 million. Can you imagine if they hadn't handled their business? And guess what? Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati is younger than TJ Watt. So now they can't say, well, you know, you're an older prospect or whatever. No, because TJ Watt, who is the older prospect, 30 years plus, is a guy getting $41 million. So now the Bengals have put themselves in a really bad situation. What are you going to do? You took so long, you drug your feet. Are you going to pay the man? Are you going to trade the man? Are you going to make him? What are you going to do? What are you going to do is going to have a disgruntled player one way or the other. So they're in an all bad situation. Oh, by the way, I mentioned the Cowboys. Yeah, they still got a guy named Micah Parsons that they need to pay. So guess what? $41 million, that's going to get eclipsed, and it ain't going to take long. They're going to have to do that as well. I'm assuming sometime before the season gets started, Jerry Jones will decide to, wake up from his daytime nap and make this deal happen. But the yesterday's price ain't today's price. I say it all the time, right? The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you. So again, once again, I want to give credit to John Spytek, Pete Carroll, the Raiders front office, for handling their business with the players that they know they have to handle their business with immediately, get it done so they're all of a sudden the inflation, the tax doesn't hit them. $35.5 million for Max Crosby, now the 5th highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL behind TJ Watt, Jamar Chase, Myles Garrett, and Danielle Hunter. Right? That is wild. So there you go. Shout out to the Raiders. And one more quick note here in segment number 1. I know I'm going a little bit long here, a little news and notes. I thought this was something big that came down on Thursday night as well. Lloyd Howell, he resigns. He announced his resignation as the NFLPA executive director. Don't know if you've been following this story, but on ESPN.com, and Pablo Torre, who used to be a part of ESPN, now part of the whole Levitard, that their network that he's got going on, has revealed a story basically going all the way back to when Deshaun Watson got his fully guaranteed contract from the Cleveland Browns, and no other team wanted to give out a fully guaranteed contract. And remember, Lamar Jackson was up for a deal. Kyler Murray was up for a deal. Russell Wilson was up for a deal. None of those guys got fully guaranteed contracts. Basically, it's a collusion story. It's it's like unraveled a bunch of different evidence of these teams colluding to make sure that they didn't have to pay that kind of money. And the NFLPA actually found out about it. Like, they knew about this, but they didn't blow the whistle on it. So Adam Schefter says the NFLPA Executive Committee is in touch with its membership, and the board is expected to meet as soon as possible to figure out the next steps that include an interim executive director. Howell served as a mere 749 days as executive director of the NFLPA. He was elected June 28, 2023, and announced his resignation July 17th, 2025. And many people, I saw this quote, I thought it was great. I can't believe Lloyd Howell didn't get ousted after the collusion story broke last week. NFLPA needs to clear out all their leadership and start over. What a blank show this has been. So there's going to be more to come. Follow this story, the collusion story with the NFLPA and the NFL, and obviously their owners going up against guaranteed money. There's going to be more to this story to come. Trust me on that. Coming up in segment number 2, we know it feels different, but does it feel right? That's put up into segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a great sponsor that we have here on the Locked On Raiders podcast, and that is Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When you start tracking your spending, you'll notice all the money you spend on rideshare, all the money that you spend on fast food, all the money you spend on stuff that you really don't believe that you're spending money on. Like, I spent that money on that. Yeah, it'll all of a sudden pop up to you and realize, oh, that's how I can get this thing cleaned up. Maybe subscriptions that you had that you didn't realize that you were still paying for. Maybe duplicate subscriptions. All that is crystal clear. It's, again, it manages your money, and it makes, managing your finances a lot easier. Right now, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Promo code is LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. We know it feels different, but does it feel right? And you're probably wondering, where in the world did this come from? Well, I've been talking about serious, unserious, and for entertainment purposes only. Talked about it here on the show. Talked about it on my radio show, Unnecessary Roughness, on Raider Nation Radio 920. And, the thing is, like, we try not to get too excited, especially with the rookies showing up for training camp, knowing that the veterans will right around the corner coming up next week. And, there's a lot of good, positive, exciting momentum, it feels like, with this team. But this is not the first time that we felt this way. It's not the first time that I felt this way, right? I'll go back to last year where I was pumped up, excited, fired up about what Antonio Pierce was going to bring to the table because, well, he's a Raider, right? He's going to do things the Raider way. He's going to build this strong defense, yada, yada, yada. I mean, you know the song and dance. We were there. I know that some will say that they were never on board, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. Like I've said many times, I'll ride on that island by myself. But, there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of juice, right, from a guy that spends a lot of time talking with Raider Nation, I know that there was a lot of juice around AP. There was a lot of juice when John Gruden returned, 2.0, right? There was even some juice from Josh McDaniels, not because he's got a track record of a proven head coach, but, from my belief, okay, he's a really sharp offensive coordinator. He'll figure things out and get it cooking, especially after the Raiders had just gone to the playoffs. Obviously, that didn't work out. We know it didn't work out with AP, and we know what happened with John Gruden 2.0. So as I've been talking about serious, unserious, and for entertainment purposes only, I have a lot of people hitting me up. It's like, yeah, I feel really good. It looks like they put together a really good draft. They're free agents, right? Pete Carroll's got a track record of success. So, yeah, I'm on board. But at the same time, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. And then I got this text from Southern Indiana Raider that I thought was pretty cool. It says, hey, Q, Southern Indiana Raider here. I'm pumped about training camp in this upcoming season. I feel much better about this team. I actually think that they'll be an actual professional football team instead of the McDaniels clown show. I actually felt bad about AP not getting it done. When they chose Minshew over O'Connell, they were cooked. I'd like to add another safety and a veteran wide receiver, but I'm all in with Pete Carroll, and I trust him. Got to get Wilkins back, that Southern Indiana Raider. And it's funny, I see that text, and then on my radio show on Thursday, I had a guy text in and say, yeah, Q, it feels different. There's no doubt about that. It's felt different before, but does it feel right? And it started to make me think, well, does it feel right? Right? And then I started thinking about what Pete Carroll has done and the fact that no matter where he's been, college or the NFL, he's had the success. Went to USC, had success with young guys, right? Went to the Patriots and had them in the playoffs the first year, right? After making the return from USC, he goes to Seattle, has them in the playoffs the first year. Now, I don't want to go as far as saying that he's going to have the Raiders in the playoffs the first year because I know the division that the Raiders play in, the AFC West, is very difficult, and the conferences as well. But it just feels like he's the right guy for the job. He gives you the confidence because he's been there, done that. The Raiders so many times, and a lot of times you give him credit for finding that coach that hasn't been a head coach and giving him an opportunity, and all of a sudden they take off, right? Like John Gruden wasn't a head coach the first time that when the Raiders hired him, right? That was when he was the youngest head coach. Like Al Davis had a knack for finding coaches that hadn't been head coaches yet, and they're really good. So they've tried to do that multiple times. Hey, this guy's not a head coach yet, but he's good. He's got the head coaching material. We think he could be someone. Well, clearly that didn't work. Right, the Raiders tried many different guys. Clearly, that didn't work. So they needed someone, and I hate to say like adult in the room because then it sounds like a total disrespectful shot at everyone else, but just someone with that proven track record. Pete Carroll gives you that. He gives you that confidence. Not to mention what he said he was going to do, he's done. He's not going to give us all the answers to the puzzle, but he's a guy that's very confident about what he says. He's a guy that's very confident about what he does. I mean, even to the point of, and I brought this up on the show, the training camp schedule. The fact that I have the schedule, I have the calendar, I have all the themes on the day, like other staffs would have kept that close to the vest. I don't want these guys seeing that. I don't want these guys seeing what these days' themes are. I don't want these guys talking about. He's not worried about it. Right? Just like when we first met with them in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, said, how's Christian Wilkins doing? Well, this has been a challenge. It's a frustrating injury to try to overcome. Like most of the time you would hear a coach just say something like to this further extent of, he's working, right? He's in the building, he's working, he's rehabbing, and leaving it at that. Keep it very, very quiet. Well, he just kind of tells it how it is. Again, he's not going to give us every answer to the puzzle. He's not going to, give us all the secret sauce, but he's been very honest from the jump. Even in his introductory press conference, I jumped in and asked, I think, the second question and said, hey, what are you looking for? What are the traits you're looking for in a quarterback? And he said, look, the quarterback's important, but we need to support the quarterback. We need to get offensive line. We need to get weapons. We need to have a run game. Like the quarterback is important, but everyone's important around the quarterback, and we need to put the quarterback in the best position. So what did they do? They went out and traded for Geno Smith. They went out and drafted Ashton Genty. They went out and drafted 3 different wide receivers, right? They went out there and signed an offensive lineman. They drafted a couple offensive linemen. Like what he said they were going to do is what they're going to do. So, it feels like that there's a plan in place. This is something that Joe Fortenbaugh said the other day when you heard the little clip of him talking about serious, unserious, and for entertainment purposes only. It feels like the plan is in place, and it feels like we can see what the plan is. I knew when Josh McDaniels was the head coach, I knew there was a plan. I didn't know what the plan was. I was very skeptical because Jimmy Garoppolo was all of a sudden the quarterback that they wanted to bring in, and I was not very high on that. I think everyone knows that was not a quarterback of choice. Now, once they signed Jimmy G, you support him because you want him to do well, because you want the team to do well. But we all know how that played out. Now, I think that Antonio Pierce had a plan, And I think that his plan that he had was actually similar to what Pete Carroll is doing. He wanted a team that was led by defense. He wanted to be able to run the rock and play complementary football from the quarterback position, right? And so that's what Pete Carroll wants. He wants to have a strong defense. He wants to have a solid run game, and he wants to have a quarterback that is going to be able to, complement what everyone else does. Now, I think Geno Smith is better at quarterback than just a compliment. Clearly, Gardner Minshew was not that guy, but the difference between Antonio Pierce and Pete Carroll is I think AP knew what he wanted. He just didn't know how to get it, right? Whereas Pete Carroll knows what he wants and actually knows how to go get it too. And again, that's not a shot at AP. Anyone who's listened to the show knows that I was a big-time supporter of his and was even hoping that he was going to get a little bit more time because I do think he could have got it figured out. But now that I've seen Pete Carroll and I've seen his plan put in place and I've seen the, as a matter of fact, and the, commitment to going and getting, a Chip Kelly and paying a lot of money to bring him in as the OC, going and making sure he retains Patrick Graham, giving him a raise to make sure he sticks around, right? Going ahead and adding analytics to the front office and so they can, they can use that element as well. Just all the different pieces that are in place. John Spytek as the GM going out and getting the right pieces, right? Knowing that the Raiders needed more just talent on the roster. It took 8 draft picks and turned it into 11, right? I mean, went and got a big-time playmaker, one of the best in college football in Ashton Genty. Went out and got Jack Bech, the wide receiver, in round 2. Got Dante Thornton Jr., wide receiver, in round 4. And then even Tommy Mellott, right? And I know he's a quarterback from Montana State. They got in the 6th round, but he was announced as a wide receiver. That's 3 wide receivers. Went and got 2 offensive linemen. Right, went out and got 2 big defensive tackles because, Christian Wilkins is a question, right? Even got another quarterback in Cam Miller, right? He may develop into something he might not. Got a linebacker, right? Went out and got a cornerback in Darian Porter from Iowa State, right? Even though he's young at the position, he fits the prototypical Pete Carroll cornerback role. So it just seems like that they've tried to fill a lot of holes. And I'm not saying every one of their draft picks is going to pan out, but you bring in 11 draft picks and you sign 15 or so undrafted free agents. Right, that lets it be known that you're about to turn this roster over. You're about to have a lot of youth in there, and you're going to try to do everything you can. As Pete Carroll said, we're not trying to have a 2 or 3 year ramp-up window. We're trying to win right now. They're showing that they're trying to win right now, but they're also trying to, at the same time, turn this roster over, make it a little bit younger, get the right pieces in place so when they do have that success, it's not a 1 year and then they're done, one and done, right? Like college hoops, one and done. It's not like that. They can have sustained success. So, again, it does feel different. It's felt different plenty of times, but it does feel right. And, again, it just – I don't want to get too high. I've been trying to temper my expectations. I've been tempering my expectations with the win-loss total because you have to, right? I mean, these guys are going to go out there and play the game, but there's an opponent that gets paid too. So just because the Raiders got it looking right and feeling right doesn't mean that they're going to automatically have success and win a bunch of games. But I feel like with the leadership that's in place, if they have a bad loss, they're not going to let that loss beat them twice, right? I don't feel like that there's going to be any time this season you're going to see a 10-game losing streak like you saw last year. I don't see that happening. I don't think there's any way that that's happening. I think Pete Carroll knows how to flush it, move on to the next week, and bounce back, right? The Raiders couldn't even get a winning streak last year until late in the season when they won 2 in a row, right? They couldn't buy a winning streak. I feel like the Raiders will go on winning streaks this year, right? You'll see multiple games that they win in a row. It's just because, again, Pete Carroll's been there, done that. This team was not the team in the organization that needed a lot of new. They needed someone with some been there, done that, right? I mean, and it's just like anything else. If you're in a business and you hire someone that you know is big time at that position, you're going to trust them when they walk in. I gave the example on my radio show on Thursday. I'm not an electrician. Hell, I'm not even a handyman, right? There's nothing I do around the house that's handyman worthy. So if I have some kind of electrical issue, I call my guy Vegas Jess. He is an electrician. He's a professional. So I might be concerned about my electrical issue until Vegas Jess walks in the house and is like, oh, I know how to fix that. Oh, yeah, this will be fine. Boom. Guess what? Confidence is there. Why? Because I got someone there that's been there, done that. Not me trying to pull out the screwdriver and figure out what goes where and what line goes there. No, I know this guy is a professional, right? He's got his own business. And there's a reason why he stays busy, because he's good. So, hey, this is what, okay, I got the best in the business in my house fixing my electricity right now. We're good. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here. That's how I feel like these guys are in the building right now with the Raiders, right? This guy's a professional. This guy's been there, done that. He knows what he's doing. Oh, you don't believe me? His resume says it right here, right? That's how I feel that they're approaching this upcoming training camp and this upcoming season under head coach Pete Carroll. Now, again, feels are one thing. We'll have to see it on the field. So, yes, it feels different. It also feels right. Now the question is, will it be right once the season rolls around in 2025 and they're on the road taking on the Patriots in week 1? Only time will tell. But good signs, I believe, for the Raiders, not to mention having all their draft picks under contract now that Jack Bech is signed, sealed, and delivered. What's on your mind? Your calls and texts will close out the show. 707-654-4693. Segment number 3, it's up next. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Start things off with a call from Brian in Pittsburgh. He's calling to give his thoughts on Raiders Mount Rushmore, who are not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that he saw play. Brian in Pittsburgh, taking a page from my radio show, Unnecessary Roughness. Here he is, Brian.
Cheers, Brian in Pittsburgh again. Mount Rushmore, 4 guys are not in the Hall of Fame. You gotta, this is crazy to say that he ain't, but Jimmy P, Jim Plunkett, he's top-notch number 1 for me. Number 2, Rich Gannon, man. He, in my lifetime, I'm 30, I just turned 36 a couple weeks ago, and that's the only winning I've ever seen. I was born in 89. I just missed a great decade of the 70s, and the early 80s. But I'm going to go with Rich Gannon, number 2. Number 3, man, I'm going to go Darren McFadden. He was always solid to me, man. He always showed up each and every week. Beat the Broncos 52-9, damn near single-handedly. Still got that image of him laughing on the sidelines somewhere in my phone. One more guy, man. I think I need to put some defense out there. Go with Darrell Russell, man. Rest in peace. Probably one of the best interior linemen the Raiders have ever had. That dude was an absolute monster. Let me know what you think. All right, Raider Nation.
Big Brian, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. Jim Plunkett, Rich Gannon, Darren McFadden, and Darrell Russell. Those are really good, especially since you're saying those are the ones that you saw and you remember, right? That was something that when I was doing the project for the Hall of Fame, or not the Mount Rushmore, I should say, for the Raiders, I thought about doing that as well. But again, I wanted to respect the history of the silver and black. But I like that, and a couple of what ifs, a couple of big what ifs on yours, right? McFadden and Russell. I was a big fan of both those guys. Darrell Russell, used to see him around town in the Bay all the time. Rest in peace to Big Darrell. He was fantastic. Him and Chester McLaughlin next to each other. Man, those are 2 big, nasty defensive tackles. And Darren McFadden, if he could ever stay healthy, what he could have been with the Raiders. Obviously, he had the foot issues, and, playing at that Oakland Coliseum, like playing on concrete, definitely did not help him at all. But, man, those are 4 really good players. Rich Gannon speaks for himself, and so does Jim Plunkett. Right? Plunkett should be in the Hall, just like you mentioned. So, really good call, my man. Big Brian, thanks so much. I do appreciate you. Got a quick text from David in East Los Angeles. What's up, Q? It's David out of East Los. What do you think about signing Will Hernandez to a 1-year contract? It's David in East Los. I can see that. I have no problem with that. Will Hernandez, I always thought that he was a good little offensive lineman. And if the Raiders get into training camp next week and feel like, they need some more depth, I think they have some good depth. I think Caleb Rogers is going to have something to say about who's going to earn that starting guard position. I really do. But if they get into camp and they feel like they need some more depth, I wouldn't have a problem if they go out and sign Will Hernandez to a 1-year deal. They've got plenty of salary cap space, and that's a good thing. They held on to their space. If anything that they need during training camp, they feel like they need some more bodies, they can definitely go make it happen. Thanks for the text. Appreciate you. Up next, got a quick call from Andrew in the 702. He's calling to talk about a rookie that he has his eye on and who he compares him to, and then he abruptly has to end the call. He's got to go. Here's Andrew in the 702.
Hey, Q, Ari. This is Andrew from the 702. I'm just calling in to give my perspective on one of the topics you touched on today's show, on which prospect I think will stand out in training camp. I'm really hoping for Tommy Mellott out of Montana. I really think, a lot of people want to compare him to, Edelman. But let's compare him to one of our own draft picks that we picked late in the 5th round. I believe it was 2019. Hunter Renfrow. I mean, he was a really solid slot, receiver for us. I'm going to call back. They call you guys back.
Andrew, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. Hopefully everything is okay, man. You had to roll out of there pretty quickly. I don't know if you got a call on the other line. Maybe the job started calling. Don't know if you looked in the rearview mirror and you saw the fine officers of the law behind you. I don't know what it was, but man, you had to go quick, fast, and in a hurry. Hopefully you didn't have a Coldplay concert type moment. Anyone on social media on Thursday knows exactly what I mean by that Coldplay concert type of moment. But in all seriousness, Malott is a very intriguing prospect. And the reason he gets the Edelman comparisons, because he was a quarterback, right, at Montana State, and he was drafted to be a wide receiver. Edelman was a quarterback as well. And, oh, by the way, Edelman was the player that he always looked up to. That was his favorite player growing up. But, for me, I'm interested in seeing what Tommy Malott, 6th-round pick, I'm interested to see what he brings to the table. I mean, playing NFL in the league, playing the wide receiver in the NFL, I should say, in the league is not easy. Right, and this is a guy who was a quarterback, and I'm looking at the thing. You got Tommy Malott. He was picked at 213, quarterback out of Montana State, and then at 215, Cam Miller, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. They played against each other. They were rivals. Now they're on the same team. I'm interested in seeing both those guys, FCS guys, see what they can bring to the table. They're definitely worth paying attention to, and especially Cam Miller, because right now they only have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Right, Geno Smith, Aiden O'Connell, and Cam Miller after they waived Carter Bradley. So, yeah, those FCS guys, those 6th-round picks, definitely paying attention to both those guys. And like I said, Andrew, hopefully everything is all good with you. Let's get this next text in from LA Raider Steve. What's up, Q? Been a while since I last sent a text. Anyway, up till now, we've heard about the NFL Best 100 rankings, projections. This player has done this and that player has done that. All that doesn't mean squat in caps. What I'm waiting to hear is what's happening in camp. Who's hitting who's running over who, and who's running by who. I'm not trying to get overexcited about what we have going on. The last time I felt this way was the year after Derek broke his leg, and we had Derek, Josh, Waller, Renfro, and Devontae. We all know how those seasons turned out. I'm hoping that Carroll, Chip, and Ashton can prove everything wrong. Raiders, LA Raiders Steve, thanks so much. I do appreciate you. And, yeah, I mean, the last time, Derek broke his leg. That was 2016. 2017, I know there was a lot of hype around this team because Marshawn Lynch was joining the team. They had been a playoff team. Derek was back healthy. Everyone thought, oh, this is all going to be good. Then again, in 2021, when the Raiders made the playoffs, and they really had no business making the playoffs, that's when John Gruden had to step down and Rich Bisaccia took over. They made the playoffs somehow, some way, and then they got Devontae the next year, right, in 2022 with Josh McDaniels, and, we all know how that played out then. So, yeah, there's been a few times where Raider Nation's been really hyped about this team and been let down. And then every year around this time, with the new staff, the turnover, this is going to be it this time, it's really easy to get excited. So I understand trying to, remain chill and relax and, everything that you talk about. I want to see who's running past who's hitting who's doing this, that, and the other. Well, they haven't even got to camp to do that yet, right? And, of course, we'll give you updates on that daily, what's going on. I mean, there's not going to be a ton of running guys over and all that because the physicality in camp isn't quite what it used to be. There's not 2-a-days like it was back in the day, but we'll definitely keep you updated. I'll keep you updated on everything. I'll be there every single day for Raiders training camp. There will be no radio show that stops me from being there. Trust and believe that. I'll be there every single day and give you the updates. So thank you, LA Raider Steve, for the text. And we'll close out with a call from Big Drew. Actually, I got time for a call and a text. Big Drew in H-Town. He's calling for 2 reasons. One, to give his concern, and then ask a question about the rookies who reported on Thursday. Here's Big Drew in H-Town.
Yo, what up, Q? This is Big Drew calling out of Houston, calling on the morning that rookies report. Super excited about training camp. Just wanted to take a quick call and give you 2 points here, or a question and then a concern. So my question for you is, who are you predicting to be this year's DJ Glaze and this year's Dylan Laube? I don't really have any candidates in mind. I actually have the same candidate in mind for both. So Dante Thornton, I think it's, we see a lot of hype coming out this offseason on him, and he could very well be Dylan Laube of this year. And obviously, I hope that I'm wrong about that. And on the flip side, he also has potential to be DJ Glaze. Who knows if he's ever, for whatever reason, thrown into the starting position due to injury or due to him earning the spot. But I think he's actually a candidate for both. But I'm curious to know who your candidates would be for the Dylan Laube and the DJ Glaze of this class. And then my second point is a concern. So I have a concern with Jacorian Bennett. not so much his play style. I mean, last year he, at one point, was one of the better corners in the league. And I really think that he's deserved, at least the starting reps, which doesn't sound like he's had the one reps. But anyway, what I'm concerned about is that he's not the prototypical corner that Pete Carroll is known for. Pete Carroll didn't draft him. That's not his guy necessarily. And he's going into his third year and is going to have to prove himself again. The one positive is that he has his DC in his corner still, so that's good there. At least he has PG to defend him and fight for him. But again, this isn't Pete Carroll's guy. He's, as we all know, Pete Carroll likes to build up these rookies. He's coming into his third year. He's 5'11" compared to Darian Porter, who Pete Carroll did draft, who's 6'3". I really believe that Jacorian Bennett should be a starter, at least deserves to be the day one training camp starter. It sounds like he's not. Anyway, I'm not too worried just because he's going to get enough burn, and if he's going to have a chance to prove it on the practice field, then he's going to be on the field. And I'm not concerned that he's not going to be on the field. I just think that, I guess my concern is, not having him or utilizing him when he's potentially the best corner that we have on the roster. Anyway, that's all that I had for you today. Q, Ari, appreciate everything that you guys do. Big Drew out. Peace.
Drew, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And let's start with the concern first, right? Jacorian Bennett, your concern is valid. He's not the prototypical Pete Carroll defensive back, but he's a competitor, and coach will give everyone a chance to compete. That's the one thing that we know about Pete Carroll. His biggest hurdle in him being Jacorian Bennett is health. He's got to stay healthy, right? I mean, think about this. He could end up starting the season, and then he goes down, and there's someone right there, a young guy, maybe Darian Porter, maybe someone else there to take his place, and then he might not get that spot back, right? Look, that's what happened with DJ Glaze last year, right? Thayer Munford was the starting right tackle, went to camp, got a little banged up, DJ Glaze slid in, boom, the rest is history. Took that right tackle spot. It can happen just like that. So for Jacorian Bennett, he needs to stay healthy and go out there and compete. He's a heck of a cornerback, as you mentioned. He was playing really well last year until he went down. Now he's got to prove himself again. He was not running with the ones in OTAs or mandatory minicamps, but he still is a guy that I think definitely has a chance to be a top cornerback for this team and a top cornerback in the league. As far as, kind of the DJ Glaze and Dylan Lobby, who's going to be this year's guys. I mentioned Caleb Rogers, the guard from Texas Tech. I think that he's going to be a guy coming out of training camp that we're talking about. If he doesn't earn a starting spot at that guard position, I think he's a guy that's going to push somebody, right? And they better not get injured because he'll take it. Something about Caleb Rogers, that guard, and knowing that those guard positions are up for, competition. You got to watch out for them. As far as Dylan Lobby, he got a lot of burn in training camp, got a lot of, conversation. We were talking about him quite a bit. And then when he got to the regular season, the first time he carries the ball, he puts it on the ground. He didn't turn into that special teams ace that we all thought. So I don't think anybody wants to come out of camp being Dylan Lobby. Dylan Lobby is going to have to fight for his spot in training camp. So I don't know if there's a guy that really wants to be this year's Dylan Lobby, like talked about quite a bit and then never comes out to anything. So I couldn't really answer that question. But as far as who could be this year's DJ Glaze, I stick on the offensive line and I say Caleb Rogers, the guard out of Texas Tech. We'll close out with a text from Flatland Raider in the 308. It says, Q, Flatland Raider here in the 308. We all talk about the three phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. I know the pads haven't even been on and the depth charts will change. To keep it 100, how would you break it down as far as 33% and so on? Is one phase better than the other? But we know that all have to step in and to have success. Thanks for all that you do, your awesome coverage, and helping me get through work. All this in Bronco and Chef Chatter here in Nebraska. That's John in 308, Raider Nation for life. Thanks so much for that. I appreciate you. So I think if I'm reading that correctly, it's a little jumbled up. I'm assuming that you're saying what's more important. And look, the defense last year was ranked 15th, but the offense could only score 18 points a game. So they really need to be able to complement each other. The special teams is a massive part of it, right? That you have to continue to have really good special teams plays. The specialists, Carlson and AJ Cole, are great. The return game needs to be better in special teams. That's a big thing. Their return game hasn't been worth the salt for some time now. The Raiders need to do a lot better job there. Offense and defense, they definitely need to complement each other. If the defense is going to be 15th ranked again, like they were last year, that's great, but the offense has to be better. They can't score 18 points a game. They got to be a lot better. I think they were the 24th maybe in 27th. I think 27th actually ranked offense last year. They can't be that. They've got to be closer to even. If they're 15 and the offense is 15, you're winning a lot of games. So I don't like to duck the question like that, but I think that everything has to complement each other. Offense, defense, and special teams, and it's something that the Raiders haven't had for quite a while. And, we'll give you updated, roster spots and who do I think's making the 53-man roster and all that. We'll do that through training camp. Don't want to do those kind of predictions ahead of training camp before I get to see anything. But there'll be plenty of time for that. Trust and believe that. So that's going to do it for today's show. Big ups to anyone who checked out the Raider Squad show early on Thursday morning. Definitely appreciate that. Chantel Chan, Lincoln Kennedy, and myself thought we had a great show. It was show number 6. Saw a lot of great feedback in the chat line. I can't really access the chat line. Chantel's the host, and so I try to kind of point her in that direction every once in a while, so we don't get to everything. But keep that feedback coming in the chat room on that show, man. We're having a lot of fun doing it, so hopefully you're appreciating it as well. So that's going to do it for today's show. It's going to do it for this week. Raider Nation, have a fantastic weekend, and just know next week, early on in the week, on Tuesday, the Raiders veterans will be in camp, and we'll be talking to head coach Pete Carroll. So you can go ahead and rest easy and have a great weekend thinking about that. So until Monday, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.